What if I told you that you no longer need to feel like a failure? Better yet, what if I told you there were ways to guarantee that you never ever feel like a failure again? If that interests you, make sure you tune into this entire episode where I'm going to break that down for you and give you 4 key things that you can work on to not only remove that feeling, but to also guarantee that you succeed. All right. Now, if you're like me and you like to jot down some critical notes and things, questions that might come up, thoughts as you're working through everything that I'm going to share with you, then make sure that you get that piece of paper out and get ready to do that. The first thing that I want to have a look at here is, why do we even feel like failures in the first place? And for so many people that I've worked with over the last 25 years in some form of a transformational element, whether it be mindset, relationship, personal, physical, in terms of their appearance, whatever it might be, so many people either have felt like a failure their entire life, currently feel like a failure, or have attached some form of failure to themselves. Past stories, narratives, even beliefs are mixed up with these emotions and fear around failure, around not being good enough. And I'm not going to dive into core beliefs because I've done a lot of work with that throughout these episodes, so go back and listen to them. I also do extensive work on that with our identity shift program that I can tell you guys about at the end of this episode. But otherwise, why is it that we are so entangled in bringing past failures to our current perspectives and our current realities? Like, why is it the fact that we fell over when we learned to ride a bike probably 10 times before we could ride it first? Maybe that was just me. Maybe you rode it first straight away, but yet I never think about how many times I fell off my bike. I just want to go for a ride. And even now, if I haven't ridden a bike for 5 years, I just go and grab it and I jump on it and off I go. I don't attach any form of failure or feeling like a failure. Yet, if I look back on past relationships, if I look back on past business ventures, if I look back on failed attempts to work on myself, if I look back on broken promises, things that I said I was going to do and they didn't do, why are all of those things relevant now? And why do I bring them with me and put them in my way before I start to do whatever it is that I want to do? Why is the weight of those past failures, stories, or whatever else they might be something that I now need to carry with me? What's the purpose? It's a good question, isn't it? And for a lot of you, I bet you can't even answer it. You probably sit there now and you're like, fuck, I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, it is one of those types of questions. Because guess what? You're the only person that's choosing to make it relevant now. You're the one who strapped on the backpack, put all those past failures, rocks into the bag, and off you went carrying it around. No one else did that to you. You're sitting here now feeling like a failure about something that happened fuck knows how long ago. But yet you will feel like a failure today about that thing that happened however many years ago. Same level of emotion, same doubt, same uncertainty, same self-criticization. That's a mouthful. But ultimately, why? And if you truly ask yourself that question, the answer is blatantly obvious. You don't need to. You don't. What is it doing for you? How is it serving you? How is it helping you move forward with more enthusiasm, energy, focus, and determination? It's not. It's not doing anything for you that is healthy. What it is doing is it's allowing you to hold on to narratives that justify you not fucking doing what you say you're going to do. It justifies the excuses of why I can't, and I'm not, and I tried. That's what it's there for. And that's why you hold on to it, because without that, guess what? You're naked and afraid. You have to rest on your laurels. You have to sit and stand behind your word. You have to show up, and your results are dictated by the level that you do that and the consistency and the energy that you put into showing up over time, day in and day out. So when we sit here and we look at this first thing, like, why do I even feel like a failure in the first place? Well, that answer is hopefully very obvious to you now. You are choosing to feel like one. You are constantly creating yourself as a failure every new day because you're still the failure that you were 10 years ago based on whatever happened. Like, you look at people throughout history, and there couldn't be any more examples in the world in terms of Thomas Edison's and different people and examples. I love autobiographies. Even look at Jackie Chan. He's one of my favorite autobiographies. The dude's broken 300 bones. Yeah, like, all of these things happen, and yet they still are able to move forward and conquer and create and bring to life things that most people can't even comprehend. How did they do that? Did they do it by constantly telling themselves that they were a failure every day? Did they do that by looking back at Thomas Edison's attempt number 1037 of creating the light bulb? Well, that one was shit, so I'm not going to move forward anymore because I'm a failure and I've tried everything and nothing's going to work, so I'm just going to stop. We know that's not the case, hence why we have lights. And I'm sharing this with you because I want the perspective shift to happen before we get into everything else I'm going to share with you and empower you with. And sometimes I need to bring a little bit of sarcasm and tough love so that you get that nice little wake up slap in the face and realize the only reason you feel like a failure is because you're fucking choosing it. That's it. My dad told me I could probably not even count how many times or weeks that I was a failure, that I would never succeed. At school, I was told that I would never be married. I would never have kids. I would never be able to write a book because my spelling and grammar was so shit. And now I've sold 3 books and over 10,000 copies. And I have 3 beautiful kids. And I've run multiple businesses around the world. And I live a life of choice. And I'm sharing this with you because that person and those things don't dictate who I am today. I have to choose who I am today. I have to claim that day in and day out. And I've shared so many videos about this and how to go through an identity shift process to leave behind what you don't want to create what you do want. So I'm not going to go down that road now. I just want you to own with me right here, man on man, woman on man, whatever it might be. Take a good look in the mirror. And from this moment forward, understand that you are not a failure unless you choose to be. Look yourself in the eye. I am no longer a failure in these eyes. Fucking own it. You might think I'm being silly here, but own it because you've been owning everything else and it's become part of your narrative, become part of your reasoning for why you're unhappy. Don't have what you want. Don't look like you want. Don't feel like you want. Aren't doing what you want. And you're okay with that level of discomfort, so why not try this on for size and see how it feels? Because once you realize this and you own it, now we can start building what we want. Because we've removed what's in the fucking way. And this is why so many people stay conflicted and caught up. It's because they want to create the new, but they've got all this shit dragging them back all the time and weighing them down. And they go over here and back here and over here and back here. And you just flip flop. And then you wonder why you're exhausted and frustrated and feel like nothing's going to work. It's like that parachute. If the wind doesn't come, I can jump up as many times as I want. If the wind's not going to come under me, my parachute's not going to lift up. I won't be able to paraglide. You've got to be the one who puts the wind in the sails, and you've also got to be the one that removes what's been in your way so you've got space to fill that sail. Or that parachute, or whatever you want to call it. 2 things, once we own this, that we need to, I say remove. But if anything, I would say the best way to look at this is that we need to reframe these things. And I'm going to help you understand what they are. And I'm also going to give you something to reframe them with that will serve you much more in anything that it is that you want to achieve. Okay. Those 2 things are expectations and ideals. Now, God bless us all, including myself, that we have incredible imaginations. Even if you've forgotten yours and you've maybe been living without your imagination being at the forefront for a while, as human beings, we have big imaginations. Therefore, we tend to create pretty big expectations and ideals. What that does is it puts a very big gap between where I am now and where I want to be. Now, there's nothing wrong with that gap if you have what you need in place to close the gap. If I don't, somewhere in this process, I'm going to stay stuck in the gap, which is also known as the pit of pain. The distance between where I am now and where I want to be, and I am stuck in the middle, not knowing what I can do or am able to do to achieve what I want, but I know I don't want to be where I am. Once I understand this, I have to understand that expectations and ideals are great because this thing will create amazing realities for you if you put it to work the right way. Those dreams, those visions, those expectations, those goals, whatever you want to call them, those things are incredible because they should drive you and fuel you with a level of enthusiasm, focus, passion to bring those things to life because that's what we want. And they start with statements, imagine how great that would be, or I would love that, or that's amazing. Way better statements and thoughts to have than, fuck, I hate this, I wish I could do this, this never works for me. So thinking that way is great. But as everybody discovered who watched The Secret and pretended to sit on their chair manifesting their Ferrari and stroking crystals and shit, it's not enough to bring those things to life. Therefore, most people are left with the gap that expectations and ideals create. All we got to understand is, okay, cool, that's our default. Our default is something that's actually, it drives us forward. It gives me hope and enthusiasm and vision and excitement for the future. I like those things, but I'm only going to like those things for so long if I'm not progressing towards them. And this is where we start to reframe these things. An expectation is, most of you should understand, this is something that I want to happen, something that I expect would happen. And the biggest reason why expectations create a gap for most people is due to one thing. And that one thing is time. People aren't willing to associate, I don't want to use the right, but let's say enough time with an expectation. I expect that I should lose X amount of weight in this amount of time because all the fucking marketers out there told you that you can drop 10 kilos in 5 days by wrapping yourself in fucking plastic wrap. Like, we listen to this bullshit and then we create these expectations based on that, or do this one thing and create this AI bot and you'll print $20,000 cash a month. And you set it up and you were lucky to make $20 in the month. And you're like, hang on, what's going on here? And we look at people that have created success and we're like, man, that's the ideal. That's what I want. So the expectation is that if I just do what they did, or I do some of what they did, then I can also have that. I can achieve that ideal. Yet what you don't see in the background is all of the repetitions, all of the days, the hours, the minutes that those people showed up consistently over a period of time that most of you don't even comprehend or can see. So now we've got even more conflict. We've got the expectation of being able to achieve the ideal, but now we're making it really messy because now we are attaching a time frame to it that, guess who made up that time frame? Probably the marketer that you heard it from, somebody else that you saw do it, or you just pulled it out of thin air. Like, I want to do it in the next 12 months. Cool. What if it's going to take 12 years? Oh, fuck, it's probably too hard then, because most people aren't willing to do that. And I share this quote all the time, is that most people will drastically overestimate what they can achieve in 12 weeks, but they dramatically underestimate what they can achieve in 12 months. Because 12 months seems too far away for some of you in terms of how much you need to show up over that time. let's say it's 4 hours a day for 365 days a year. Would you be willing to show up for yourself around one thing for 4 hours a day for the next 365? I guarantee you that most of you wouldn't, or haven't, or in your mind can't. That's the difference. And when we remove time from an expectation, then it can just be an expectation. It can be something that it's almost like an intention only, right? It's like, I would like that to happen. My intention is for this to happen. I'm not attaching an expectation around when. And I give this analogy all the time. Like, how long, if I said to you, if you do this job for the next 10 years and you don't take more than 2 weeks off a year, that in 10 years' time, you can earn $1 million a month take home. Would you do it? In your mind, you're like, yeah, sure. But once you've shown up for 5 months and suddenly you want to take an extra week of holiday off and you can't because of this level of commitment, you're not willing to go through the commitment in order to bring the expectation into the ideal and into life. And then you're conflicted. And then we create all these other stories about why we can't, why we haven't been able to, or why they can versus why we can't. This shit's simple. You just haven't quite understood how you've been playing around or how it's been playing around with you. So let's solve this now. All right. Step one of this entire process is us understanding the only reason that we've ever felt like a failure is because of us and because of shit that happened in the past. It has nothing to do with the future at all. Nothing. Second thing is we need to understand that we're creating our own gap at the moment with our expectations and our ideals. And then we're making it even more messy and complicated by associating a time frame to it. And a time frame that's not, I don't want to use realistic because time isn't linear that way around. It's not. It's exponential, if anything. So time is just getting in the way. Your attachment to time is getting in the way even more. So to reframe all of this now, we're going to change your expectations and your ideals, and we're going to now turn them into what I call is standards. Think about that. Do you think somebody who is an ex-Navy SEAL, hardcore, had to be disciplined at a certain level, has completely lost those standards in their life right now? Do you think that they can be that type of a person and right now they're a fat slub and they have no discipline in their life? As an example, I would say it's pretty unlikely. Like that level of discipline and commitment and courage and conviction to be somebody like that, to perform and do the things that they do, even to get through O week or whatever they call it, to then not live with those similar standards today is pretty unlikely. And I know this based on just a lot of the autobiographies that I read around Navy SEALs and majors and SAS troops and everything else. Like, I love that shit, mainly just because of getting into these guys' minds and understanding how they had to control their emotions in stages and in events where most of us would have just crumbled or just turned to crap. It's just, for me, I feed off that stuff because it just shows you what we're capable of. And they're doing it on the front line and at the extremity of what's possible, which is even, for me, I love it even more. And how that relates to you is that in order for me to create an outcome, and let's say for the example of everything we're talking about today, it's to no longer ever feel like a failure. All right. So how do we do that? Let's start something basic. I've never been able to ride a bike. Right now, I feel like a failure because I can't ride a bike with my kids and they ride a bike. Okay, cool. Is it going to hurt more right now to fall off your bike than it did when you were a kid? Yep, guaranteed. Are you going to bounce the same way you did when you were a kid? No, you're probably going to break a few bones or some shit. But either way, will you live? Yes, you will. Can you learn to ride a bike? Yes, you can. Do you have to practice and put in a certain amount of time? Yes, I do. Okay. So in order for me to create an outcome, riding a bike, I need to create certain standards. I need to find the time. I need to have a bike. And I need to commit to the process of learning how to stabilize, learning how to balance, learning how to pedal, learning how to control which leg's pushing harder than the other. I'm creating certain standards in order to create the outcome. And that's like the most basic comparison I can give you. This works in any capacity. It's just a matter of finding out what actions will lead to the result. And if you're not sure what all the actions are, no problem. Right now, I just need to know what's the first action that takes me in that direction. And I talk about this all the time. It's the transitions that ultimately lead you to the transformation. Yet we want the transformation, but we're not willing or even can see the transitions that need to happen in order for that to even be possible. Once you understand what those actions are, now it's a matter of going, cool. In order to create that result, my standards must be this and this, need to happen on these days, at these times, this frequency, no matter what's happening with this and this, so that I can put in the amount of reps and time it takes to create that. Your standards will dictate your results. And you've probably heard that many times, but haven't quite understood maybe what standards mean, or maybe you've never even decided what your standards are in the first place. It's something that I get people to do when they go into my mindset mastery program, is actually list out like what are some of the standards that you have for yourself in body, being, balance, and business, in the core 4 areas of your life. And we do that by living from a code of telling the raw truth, to not lie, to not tell stories and put things in our way, just to be clear around where we are and what current standards that we have in place, so that we can figure out what new standards we need to put in place in order to create the result. And the result in that capacity is you becoming the best you. You looking, feeling, performing, having everything that you've ever dreamed of if you're willing to do the work. Your standards will dictate your actions over time, which is why they equal your results. An example, I didn't sleep well last night, but I normally go to gym in the morning. I could sleep in and not set my alarm at 5, and then I'll catch up on a couple of hours sleep, but I won't have time to go to the gym in the morning. Cool, simple choice. People make that shit every single day. So somebody who has standards, sleep is irrelevant. Your results don't care whether I slept or not. My standard dictates my action, which will lead to my result. My standard was that the gym is a non-negotiable. I get up 5 a.m. No matter what. The alarm goes off, I'm up. I'm out of bed. I don't even think about snooze. As soon as I'm up, I'm taking the actions that I need to. Guess what? The more consistently I take those actions, the more that I'm guaranteed to achieve the result. There's no conversation. And the reason there's no conversation, because it's a standard. It's a mode of operation. It's how I dictate what I am committed to doing and what I am willing to do on a consistent basis in order to achieve what I want. How do you think you are going to fail? Or better yet, how do you think you're going to feel like a failure if that's your mode of operation every single day? Are you going to fuck up? Yes. Are things going to go wrong? Yes. Are things always going to go to plan? Hell no. But can my standards dictate my actions? Can I show up when I don't want to show up? Can I put in the work when I don't want to put in the work? When that little whiny bitch voice inside me is going, I don't want to go, let's go. No, just get up, dude. The alarm went off. It's time to go. Standards. Once I can reframe my expectations and my ideals, and I remove those and replace them with standards, after choosing to create the future I want, one that I'm no longer bringing past failures with, I then get to my 4th point here. And this is the one that if I could gift you this, I would gift it to you. It's being able to guarantee your success. So think about that. We just talked about before, getting rid of expectations and ideals, no longer carrying around past failures. So from this moment forward, I'm not a failure in my eyes, no matter what. And even if I feel like one today, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm not going to choose that. I'm not going to choose to see a failure when I see myself or have feelings of failing. The way that I'm going to guarantee my success is to fall in love with the process. I did a whole episode last week around discipline and why discipline is actually one of the easiest things that you can ever achieve, create, implement, own when you put certain things in place and you learn how to reframe what discipline means to so many people. This next step is how to guarantee your success because there is no way, listen to this, there is no way to fail when I am in love with the process because any hiccups, failures, roadblocks, challenges, hurdles, mistakes that happen throughout the process are all part of the journey that I am in love with. And you hear this often from entrepreneurs. I love the entrepreneurial journey. If you looked at it from the outside, most entrepreneurs are guaranteed to work longer hours, pay themselves less for longer in order to make the lifestyle that they want than anybody who was ever employed to start with. We got to go through a lot of stuff in order to create the outcomes that we want. More than most people do. That's why being an entrepreneur is just naturally a great self-development journey. Now, that doesn't mean as an employer or a housewife or anyone else that you don't also need a self-development journey. We're here as human beings to evolve and develop and grow. Everybody needs it. And everybody will grow through it. And when I can fall in love with the process, I'm falling in love with the bigger picture. I'm falling in love with the growth of me. I'm falling in love with all the ways that life will try and challenge me, test me, dictate certain outcomes I can have versus don't have. That I have the opportunity to conquer, to grow from, to learn from. I have the opportunity that every time I fall down, I can pick myself back up again. Every time I feel like I've failed, that I can turn it around and suddenly it's become my greatest success. And the coolest part as a human being is when you've gone through massive failures and you've come out the other side, you literally have one of the greatest powers that any human being could ever have. You just haven't tapped into it. And that's the power of perspective. You've gone through a process that almost fucking broke you, and you've come out the other side as a human being that still chooses you. And if you haven't gone through that last part yet, let me help you with that because it's probably one of my greatest joys in life is to show people where their power truly lies. Because if you've gone through hard times and you're standing here right now and you're putting the time in to listen to this bald, ugly dude rant around what he's passionate about because you want more from yourself and more from your life, you are equipped with an internal driver that's like a nuclear freaking weapon of an electric car. All right? Like that shit is so powerful. And it will allow you and help you and fuel you to get through anything that you might be doubting or that's unsure or that you have fear around. Anything. Most people couldn't get through what you have. And when you get to the other side of that, if you're not using that to your advantage and it's still holding you back, I want to slap you because I want you to realize that you are literally sitting with the greatest gift that you could give yourself. You just don't know how to tap into it and use it yet. So let me help you. All right, please reach out to me and I will show you just how incredible that is. And the reason why I smile and I'm so passionate about that is when I ignite that in somebody, they are unfucking stoppable. And the level of results that I see from those types of people and the way that their life changes, and not just theirs, but their entire family and friends and everything else, it's exponential. I literally can't even explain it to you and break it down. It's that big and that vast and that incredible. And I've been lucky enough to witness this hundreds and hundreds of times now. And if you're at that place, then please let me help you because I want to watch you go through that as well. But ultimately, it's still going to come down to you helping you. Give yourself this gift of falling in love with the process. understanding that failure is inevitable when it comes to success, so that I am never a failure. If anything, the more I fail, the closer I am to succeeding, the bigger the success I will be. If I am willing to attach standards to that, if I am willing to let go of expectations and ideals and timeframes that have just been taking me off course and creating an even bigger gap where I'm weighed down from past failures and past stories and past victimhood and narratives that only keep me stuck. When we can remove and reshape and reframe all of this, you will never, ever fail again in your life in terms of feeling like a failure. Because there is no way that you will ever feel like a failure, regardless of failed attempts of anything. Over the next couple of months, I'll be sharing with you guys something that I've been going through at 45 years of age. I never thought I would try and redo my life the way that I have in the last 3 to 4 months. That's why I haven't been on social media as much. I'm literally rebuilding something I never thought I would after over 25 years in a certain industry. And it's exciting and nerve-wracking, but it drives me every day because I know that the outcome is in line with what I want. That's what drives me. What I have to go through and the multiple failures I have already had. Laughable because I know that they're inevitable. I know that I'm learning from each of them in order to get closer to what I'm trying to create. And what I'm trying to create statistically, and this has been proven for over 20 years now, 95% of people can't do it. They try, but they don't succeed, which drives me even more because I want to be in that top 5 and 1% of people that will conquer this. Regardless of my age or what I've done to date or anything else, that shit doesn't even factor in for me. And I'll share that with you guys so you can see what I've been going through and why I'm laughing at myself because of the amount of failures I've had already. And I share that with you because I want you to realize it doesn't matter where it is. I've got an incredible woman I'm working at the moment who's 68. I've got a guy I'm working at the moment who's 73. And these people are at a stage in their life where they want to claim back life. They want more, which is ultimately why you are here. And if you can do that without the label of being a failure and the emotions of feeling like a failure, you're only going to enjoy the journey even more and achieve even more success in less time. And if I can help you with that, like I said, reach out to me. My email is adam@ilovechanginglives.com. Reach out to me below this video. Whatever you need to do, and in less than 4 weeks, I will take you through an identity shift process that will completely transform you into what we call you 2.0, all right? Which is going to allow you to see the version of you that you want to be with the exact steps that you know you can take in order to bring that person to life, all right? It's something that I'm very passionate about and enjoy. I will connect with you all next week. I have a very juicy episode planned. And as always, have a great week, and I look forward to connecting with you then.